Okay, welcome everyone to the webinar. Again, this is Jean Hansen, your host, and most of you know me as the co-founder with my husband Steve of the janitorial store and myhousecleaningbiz.com. And the reason we're having this webinar today is because I wanted to share some new information about how you can create an automated system for getting testimonials and online reviews. The very nature of business with regards to marketing has really changed dramatically in the past couple years, and clients aren't buying our products and services in the same way that they used to. No matter what industry you're in, people are going online to do their own research on the products and services that they're interested in. Now, most of you on the call today are cleaning business owners, both residential and commercial. And I can tell you that your prospects are checking you out online. They're looking at your website, they're looking at your social media sites, and they're looking for feedback from your customers. And that's where really good testimonials and online reviews come in, because if you have a lot of really powerful feedback from clients who love your cleaning service, then it's going to convert more prospects to customers. Now, the problem is we all know that we should be getting them, but most of us aren't actively asking our customers for testimonials. So usually what happens is maybe once or twice a year we think, oh, I know I should get some more testimonials for my website. So maybe you call or email a few customers in the hopes that one or two of them will come through. But what happens is that most of them are just so busy, they just don't get around to it, even though they'd like to give you a testimonial. Now, the best time to get a testimonial is right after they've received your service. And better yet, right after they've complimented your service, because that's when they're in the frame of mind to give you that positive feedback that you're looking for. So we recently started working with a company that has developed an automated system for asking for testimonials and online reviews. And it's actually a very personalized service, which people are very receptive to. So I've asked Mike Blumenthal, he's the creator of this technology, to take us through the system. And I've also asked one of the people that is one of my marketing clients, Dawn Raffler from Clarkston Cleaning, to join us on the call because she's been using the system for several weeks now. So she's actually gotten over 40, right around 40 testimonials on her website since she started this just a few weeks ago. So she's going to share her experience a little bit later. So Mike, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you great. So thanks for joining me today.
All right. So I started developing this system with clients in real world situations. I was a local search consulting at a lot of small businesses, and they always had trouble, as Gene said, actually doing the do of asking their clients. But it became really obvious to me, in 2009, 2010, that ignoring reviews could lead to a tremendous amount of lost business. So starting in 2011, I started conceptualizing this and started building out this product in 2012, 2013. We now have been live for several years. Basically, the idea behind the product is that every business needs to earn reviews. And unless you measure how good you're doing, you don't know whether you're earning them or not. So we developed the first stage of the product allows for a private feedback process where you ask every customer whether you're doing a good job or not. And if they say yes, then we take them into what we call the positive branch of the product. So the process looks like this. We send out a feedback request. We take them to a rating landing page with a very simple survey and a very simple feedback box. If they say hooray that you did a great job, then that feedback is automatically posted out on your website, and they are then directed to and asked for leaving you a review at the review sites of your choice. There's probably 60 or 70 review sites you can choose from. And then we report on all of that. We report on the campaign metrics, how many opens there were, how many people visited the social sites, as well as how many reviews we found, and ongoing tracking of your score. So there's a number of reports. We also recognize that not every business is the same. So in addition to email there's a number of different ways to get the system started. Email is one, but we also have a shortened URL that allows you to hand out a card, for example, or to put this into your newsletter, or to integrate it into some existing customer relations management system, or email product like MailChimp or Constant Contact. And we also have a kiosk feature where if you're actually in the field or you have reps or cleaning folks in the field, they can actually hand the person a tablet to initiate the process. So, and then if it's negative, the feedback flow is slightly different. We ask the same rating, but then instead of taking them to a review page, we ask for additional feedback. They're segmented into the not so happy group. Alerts are sent out to all of the designated people, your managers, yourself, so that you know that the client immediately wasn't happy with their service, particularly if you're using the kiosk, because it's going to happen right when the service person leaves. And again, we report all this back. So what we've developed is best practices around asking for feedback, getting feedback, and developing a review corpus in an automatic way that once you get it going, it can be fairly self-sustaining without a lot of intervention. It can be integrated into your business processes quite easily. And one of the key attributes is that by asking for feedback early after the sale, you dramatically increase the chance that you're going to intervene with a customer before they're so annoyed that they go out to Yelp or Google, thus minimizing the chance for bad reviews. And as Dawn experienced, it pushes testimonials and reviews out to your website, generating a stream of fresh local content for each location. And when all of that, besides all of that, it also then encourages your happy customers to leave reviews across the internet sites that you choose. So we call this reputation development because it's more than just managing the process. It's proactively trying to learn what you're doing well, what you're learning, and to improve what you're not doing well, and then leverage that into a good reputation and managing it all by entering just a single email address. So that's the slide deck. Let me exit this and move over to our live demo.
And just, Mike, if I could just interject for a moment. The last screen that he showed said more reviews now. So that's the name of the service. We also have our marketing company, Marketing Systems by Design. And so if you actually go to morereviewsnow.com, it will redirect you to this page on our Marketing Systems by Design website. You can also reach it just by going to marketingsystemsbydesign.com and then going to the menu where it says Marketing Systems, and then you'll see the little drop down that says More Reviews Now. So this is just a one-page screen on our site that shows a few screenshots. So he's showing you right now how to get there. And it just kind of gives you a general overview of how it works. But Mike's going to take us behind the scenes and give us some more information.
So when a location logs into the service, and as a note, we are not going to be covering multi-location capabilities, but we have a lot of multi-location capabilities. So if you've got more than one, be sure to reach out to Gene so that we can set up a meeting to show you what we do beyond what a single location needs in terms of reporting, managing users, and that sort of stuff. So when you log in, you immediately see what, in this case, Clarkston Cleaning's customer dashboard. And your job, once this is set up, is simply to add customers. You can add customers one at a time this way, or you can bring them in via a spreadsheet. Yes, so it looks at the email list, makes sure it tells you which ones it's imported. If it finds any duplicates or invalids, it reports them, and then brings them in ready to be sent. Depending on how you have the communication method sent, you can set this to automatic, which then it will then just go ahead and start sending them out so that you don't give the review engines, review sites too many in any one day. We'll let you modulate how many emails you can send out. So, and it does it on what's called a last in, first out basis. So if, for example, you loaded up your 2,000 existing customers, figuring you're going to ask them, and then every week added, 10 or 20 new customers, it would send out the requests to the new customers first, and then when it was finished with those, go back and ask your older customers for feedback, right? So we've sent out a feedback request earlier, just so you wouldn't have to wait for me to do that. And this is what it looks like. You have complete control over the email, the subject line, and adding a logo. And as you can see, Dawn here, if you never knew what she looked like, now you do. You can add your own photo. And it's we designed it in such a way that it doesn't get filtered by Gmail. It shows up in the main box, doesn't get into the promotional box. So we do a very simple survey called the Net Promoter Score. This survey is used by almost every major Fortune 5000 or 500 business, and it's a simple question. How likely is it that you would recommend our company to a friend or colleague? It's a scale of 0 to 10, and depending on what the customer answers at this, they'll get branched to either the positive or negative flow. So let me just get a quick feedback in.
So while you're doing that, let me just let them know that what we've done is that you can set it to where anything, and the way we've set up Dawn's is anything that is a 7 or higher rating is what gets automatically posted to her website. And if it's less than a 7, then it's going to be intercepted at that point.
Right, so there's what we call a positive feedback threshold setting. So 8 or higher in Dawn's case.
Oh, okay. I thought we had it at 7. But...
gets shifted over. So this person's giving them a 10 because they did a great job for me. So I am in the positive feedback process, and I'm presented with Dawn's choice of review sites where I can then go and leave a review. The user also receives a thank you automatically from the system, thanking them for the feedback and giving them a second chance in case they didn't leave a review, a second chance to leave a review. Now that feedback shows up in Dawn's dashboard right here from M. Tesla. Bought a great job and gave him a 10, and we have it set to automatically show on if it's over a certain score, it'll automatically show on our website. So I'm going to take you out to her website. This is her website just before the demo started. Let me just visit it anew with a refresh, and the next customer to this page will see that feedback in real time. We push this data out in real time, so there you're seeing it, and we push it out in a way it's technically called schema.org. Some people refer to it as rich snippets. We push it out in a way that when Google finds that page, they will show that page with stars, right? So it gets highlighted. You can see here Jean's page. Dawn's hasn't quite gotten the stars yet. But Google will highlight that page with stars, and if you're doing a fair bit of local marketing, you might see it look like this, where you see this is just a simple brand search. You see the stars, plus you see the other local stuff at Google. So Google sort of likes this content the way it's delivered and perceives it as a review and marks it up as such.
We have a quick question.
Sure.
So I just stopped. So the question was, on the customer's review, he gave them a 10 out of 10, but it shows up on the page as 5 of 5, 5 stars. So
yeah, well, we use the, sure, good question.
Yep.
So what we do is the Net Promoter Score is a 0 to 10 scale, and that's a standard in the industry, and we didn't want to deviate from that. But we map that out to a 5-star basis for the review, because most reviews are done in 5 stars. So we automatically take the 10-point scale and map it out to the 5-point review star scale, which is pretty standard in the industry. So we're using one metric to measure, another metric to represent, just so that people understand what they're seeing here. And right now we're not showing halves, so if you got a 4.5, i.e. a 9, we round up. So each Joe has a 5 here.
Yeah, so isn't it 9 or 10 is a 5 and 7 and 8 is a
Right.
4 and so on down?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes. Correct. So that's the basic system. You can set it to automatic. Just get your emails in. It will automatically send them. It'll automatically send out a request and then a thank you. It'll automatically guide them over and automatically publish it on your website. That's the basic system. In addition to that process and flow, we track a lot. We have a weekly or monthly report that we send out, which shows you your aggregate Net Promoter Score, how many, and some campaign metrics, like how many emails you sent. Dawn's got a great open rate, how many online reviews we found, and then how many negative feedbacks we intercepted. We think that's positive because now Dawn has a chance to deal with them. Dawn, how do you deal with the negative feedback?
All of us in the office receive the email saying that there's a negative feedback, and we immediately contact the customer to take care of the problem. We've always taken care of it, but we've never sent it back to ask them to do another review afterwards, and I'm thinking maybe we should have. But at that point, anything that's below a 3-star, we would not put on our website, and you don't have to, is what I understand.
Right. Yeah, we don't force you to post any review. So, you know, it's your decision as to what you post, but you absolutely can go back and ask them, manually send them another request for feedback, and hopefully they will revise their feedback once you've fixed it. So I think that's a great idea of handling it. So one of these reports is this performance report that we send out weekly or monthly. We also, though, track this Net Promoter Score over time, and we can look at it by any month, and we can drill into any of the positive or negatives and see exactly what it was that the problem was, and then we can fix it. And then ask them again to give us feedback, so hopefully they'll give us positive feedback and take us back in. We also go out to the major review sites, Google, Yelp, Facebook, and CitySearch, and monitor for new reviews. So if we find reviews there, we will send you an alert that there are new reviews at those sites. And then we track those reviews by quality, by star rating, by time of when they were implemented, by average per site, and then average overall. You know, and from my point of view, it's this overall average that we hope to see increasing, which we're seeing some increase here from, I don't know when the system was implemented, but we're seeing some increase. A full star increase, some research showed that a full star increase in the restaurant business counted for $5,000 a month extra income. Now, I don't think that would be quite the same in the cleaning business, but certainly having a good reputation and managing it correctly can lead to, you know, increased conversions.
And that's
the setup.
I'm sorry, that tracking, the online review tracking is really helpful too, because you know, I've seen online reviews where I wasn't notified that I even had one. And so I would like to respond to those to thank them for the review and see what people are saying. So that gives you an opportunity to go to that and do that right away.
Yeah, along that line, I never used to think that responding to positive reviews was necessary, but I did some interesting consumer research and I asked people whether they expected a response, and 60% didn't expect a response, or they only expected if it was bad, but 40%, which is a significant minority, expected you to acknowledge the review. So I agree with Gene. I think it's great practice to monitor these reviews and then get out and respond to them publicly. They went to the trouble of, you know, providing you with feedback, and I think it's nice to acknowledge it. Yeah. And it seems that consumers, the survey at least, agreed with it. So the setup of this, most of this is handled by Gene, but it's fairly simple. There's 5 pages. We give you a large number of review sites from which to choose, and we allow you to easily and quickly switch them up. So let's say one month you've decided you got enough Google reviews. You can put Facebook and Yelp first, for example, and even turn on city search easily and quickly so that you can sculpt the reviews and help your clients go where they're most helpful to you.
The other thing is,
that, I'm not sure
I don't think Dawn has all of those on. I don't think she has city search on, but I.
No, she doesn't have it turned on, so I can turn it on
Well,
or
no,
off.
I mean, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, so you can turn them on or off. I know on my site I have just 3, and I don't think it's a good idea to have too many on there. You don't want to give them so many choices that they don't know what to do. So I think it's knowing where your customers are, where you've gotten reviews in the past. You for sure want to have Google on there. That's a must. Facebook is kind of easy for people to leave you reviews because a lot of people that are already online, a lot of them are just logged in already. So then, it's your decision on the other ones that you want to do. But I believe I do Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn, but it kind of depends on your business. Obviously, with a residential cleaning company, Yelp is a good idea if you're getting reviews there.
Yeah, although Yelp is problematic because if your customers are not active Yelpers and they do leave a review, it won't show. If you're in the Midwest, I found that Yelp is a non-entity, right? I mean, nobody uses Yelp. They'd prefer to use YP.com or Superpages, surprisingly. So if you're on the coast, Yelp makes sense. If you're not on the coast, I think I'd go with Google, Facebook, and
well, and Dawn already had some reviews on Home Advisor, and that's why that one is on there. So, I mean, if you're getting reviews at a place, then you could do that.
So besides setting the review links, we let you configure the feedback requests with your own verbiage. We put default values in there, and then what the email looks like that goes out when they give you positive feedback, and what the email looks like when they give you negative feedback. So, if you say you're going to follow up, then in the negative one, you probably should. We also allow you to configure where the reply tos on those are coming from. Add your logo and add your photo for the email. Fairly straightforward. And this is what Jean was talking about before about configuring the system. We allow you to first auto-approve feedback. It doesn't mean that you don't necessarily show the lower feedback. It just means that you have a chance to review it before it goes out there. And then you can decide what to show or what not to show. And then who gets asked to leave you a review versus who gets the negative. And then the content of the pages those people are taken to. We also provide a URL that can be integrated into other email programs like Constant Contact or MailChimp, or into your newsletter, or onto your website, or even print it out on a card and hand it to people that can bring people into the system. And then this is one part that I think Jean said, she needs your web developers to help you with. Getting this information from our system out to the website in real time so that Google understands what they're seeing requires that you embed this gobbledygook on a page on your website. We allow for some configuration of it, which you can change after the fact, and we allow some design changes, and we also allow you to create your own default, other designs if you don't like ours. But this code needs to get put on a page on your site, so usually you need to engage your web developer for that. If it's WordPress, it's very simple, and I'm sure Jean can help you with that.
Yeah, if it's WordPress, it's a plugin that gets installed. So because I set up, when people sign up for this, like he said, I do all the email and feedback settings and set everything up, which you can change. You're free to adjust things to your liking. But as far as getting that testimonials widget onto your site, I don't have access to your site. So it's really just a matter of embedding that simple code onto your site, or if it's WordPress, installing the plugin and then putting that plugin on that page. That plugin has its code, and you'll install that on the page. So it's a pretty simple process. Once it's there, then you're up and running.
Right. And then the final setting per location is just who gets what notifications and what reports. Do you want, you can add additional managers to the account. So They can also log in, but they can then be alerted to the positive and negative feedback. You can add multiple people to this list to get alerted to new reviews, and you can have multiple people getting your weekly or monthly feedback as well. And then finally, some of you may look at implementing the kiosk system, which basically allows you to use an iPhone 6 or a Galaxy 6 or an iPad or an Android tablet. Essentially what it does is it splits the process in two. It asks for their feedback in the field. So obviously the tablet would need some sort of cellular capabilities. You hand them, you get the feedback, but then and then you immediately get notified of the customer whether they're happy or not. But then they, rather than filling out the review on your tablet, they would get an email that says, gee, would you leave us a review at Google? We saw you were happy. And again, if it was negative, you would have gotten noticed. So you'll know right away if you're using the kiosk whether a given job went well or not. And then all of this is everything you've seen. We've also added agency level functions that make it easier for multi-location businesses to, if you've got 5 or 10 locations, instead of having to go in and individually set these defaults, you can set them globally, upload them, etc. So if you have a multi-location business, let Jean know, and you can have your own webinar. How's that for an offer? So I think that's the end of my formal presentation. I'm certainly available to answer questions and pass it back to Jean. Would you like me to pass the screen back to you, Jean?
We can.
Or do you want to leave it here for
we
questions?
can leave it there for right now for questions if we need to look at anything else. So let me just see. Can we just, Dawn, can I just ask you quick to share your experience with this and just how easy it was to set up and to use as far as starting the process of actually asking your customers for the reviews?
It was really easy to ask the customers because Jean set up everything for me. So we just sent out emails as we cleaned the homes. And I was surprised how many customers responded back so quickly. Mm-hmm. And like today we've sent out 2 already because now we've already hit all of our customers up. Even though they didn't all respond, you can see in there where it says no review was sent back. You can go back in. What we're planning on doing is every 2 months resend them out again to those people who did not give us reviews. And then every new customer gets a review that day that we clean. So it's just amazing how fast it comes back and hits on your website. And we are getting clients who come to us and they're like, wow, these reviews are all up to date. Everyone else's reviews don't have dates on it. Mm-hmm. On this, your dates actually show up so they can see that it's a current review.
Yeah, and then, there's a lot of them. I mean, if you go back to her review page too, you can see what it does is it actually has multiple pages. So when you scroll down there, see how it's
9 pages.
Yeah, so it shows 5 reviews, but now there's actually 9 pages of reviews, and so that's really that's impressive to people when they see that.
And Jean was great because we had problems. My website is Drupal, I think they called it. It's like a WordPress. And it was not easy to work with, but she was able to tell my web designer exactly what they had to do. Mm-hmm.
I just took a look at the code and I was like, these guys, if I can figure it out, these guys should be able to figure it out. So, yeah. And then we had a question about the fees and how that all works. So we actually have on that page that Mike showed you earlier on our site, there's it does explain the pricing on there, and it is a $77 setup fee, and that's what you pay for the first month, and then after that it's $27 a month. So like I said, after you make the payment, you're taken to another screen, and I have a questionnaire there that gives me all the information that I need to set up your portal, like what Mike was just showing us. And so once I get the portal all set up, then then we're almost ready to go. Then I just need to give you the information you need to get on your website. So the sooner you can get it on your website, the sooner you can start using the system and start sending out those emails. Now we set Dawn up, and this is how I will set everyone up, excuse me, because I know that there's probably nobody on the call that has 2,000 customers, like Mike referred to, like a restaurant coming in, people coming in all the time. But we set it up for manual sending. And for a cleaning business, you want to get them right after you've cleaned. So that's how Dawn has been doing it. So setting up for manual rather than automatically sending out some questionnaires right off the bat.
Yeah, I'd love to, for somebody, the kiosk mode is new and I haven't used it a lot, but your industry is ideal, and I'd love to have somebody test it and see how it works, because we're actively developing it. It's sort of a first go at it. So if somebody does want to try it, I'd love to work with them to see how it goes.
And Mike, can you just talk a little bit about getting the online reviews? Now, the first step of this is actually we're asking for people for feedback. We're asking them to rate it. It gets put onto our website. But then there's that second step, because obviously you're not going to get as many online reviews as you are just the feedback, because some people don't want to take the two steps. So, what kind of results can we expect from that?
So firstly, there is an option. So this currently takes the user to the score and the feedback. There is an option here that turns off the feedback for the website, where it's ask rating only, where we include the 10-point scale right in the email. So we can remove that friction. I don't like removing it because I think the local testimonials and reviews are incredibly valuable, but you have that choice to do it. Typically what we see is average open rate of 45%. So if you send out 100 by email, you get 45 opens. Now, Dawn is seeing a 78% open rate, which is incredible, right? So some of the numbers are dependent on how many people you can get to open your emails. Or whether you're doing multiple ways of asking, right? So there's no reason Dawn couldn't hand out a card as well with that shortened URL on it that we talked about, right? This little URL. Dawn could also be handing out a card because some people just aren't going to answer an email, right? Or as she pointed out, she can go back and resend it to them after 30 or 60 days to increase the numbers. If you don't do any of that, though, and you have a 45% open rate, again, Dawn has higher, what we see is about 10 feedbacks and 1 to 2 reviews. Per 100 sends. We think you can increase those numbers by, repetitive sending and or asking in different ways, but that's what you're going to typically see if you don't do something different. Now, in the review world, we think that that's ideal. And the reason for that is that you don't. Here's a show you this guy here. So in some markets, and I don't know what it's like in the cleaning industry, but there's very few reviews being left now. And one of the problems you run into, hang on here, is you get too far ahead of the pack. It also looks funny, right? So here's this person. He's got 12. Nobody else has any. Right, so sometimes you don't want to get more reviews, right? You need just enough to sort of stay well ahead of the pack, but you don't want, 200 when everybody else has 2. So some friction in this process, I think, is a good thing. And the other way to look at it too is, like Dawn said about having the current reviews on your site. It's the same thing with reviews at Google. People look for to be sure that you have some current reviews there, and we think that Google looks at it too. So slow and steady wins this race. I mean, it is not, you don't want to be the hare, get 50 and then stop doing it. Right. You want one every couple months, and 5 years you'll have a lot of them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so it's great to get started and then get a lot of them all at once, but yeah, you want to spread it out, so that's good. let's see, what else? I was going to ask you something. Oh yeah, if you do get, let's say that Dawn mentioned that she wasn't asking the people that gave negative feedback to for that positive after they took care of the situation. And I believe I asked you guys this question before: is what happens if they do then give positive feedback? I think your answer was that it replaces their old
It
feedback.
replaces this. Yeah. It'll
Okay.
replace it and show it as an additional transaction. It'll keep a note here that there's another feedback received, and it'll replace it, and then you can publish it.
Okay.
So you can go in and you know just click on this person and send them an additional feedback request, right? So even though they're giving you feedback, you can do that, and it'll give you an alert that you've already done it, but it will give you the chance at that point to customize this email. Since you've already communicated with them, you could say, gee, we hope we've solved your problem. We would appreciate your feedback again. So you can customize this without one-offs, right? So I think it allows you to do that quite readily, right?
Good. So did I hear you say that, let's say that you, like Dawn, she's gotten a lot of feedback from her customers. Now she's going through for the people that didn't give her initial feedback and asking again. So let's say that, she's getting pretty caught up and she's got reviews from almost everyone. Did I hear you say that you can actually turn off the feedback box and just direct them to the online reviews?
Yes, there's a setting here called ask for rating only. And what this does, let me just send this out here. We'll send one to M. Stevens. And so here's what it looks like. So instead of, remember the first time we did this, it put the feedback score and the feedback on a web page. When you do it this way, it just embeds the score right in the email, and then when that person fills it out, instead of having to fill in the feedback and stuff, it takes them directly to the page with the review sites.
Okay.
And adds to that this option to leave a review for the site or the other sites, right? So this, in theory anyways, removes some of the friction. I think you'd need to rewrite your emails to reflect that this is the process. I think it's always good to tell the customer what to expect, but so it's a slightly different flow.
But I think it's a good option for people that have a certain amount of clients and they've gotten a lot of really good testimonials from them or feedback on their site, but now they haven't gotten as many online reviews as they would like. I think it's a good way to direct them more to that initially. I wouldn't start out this way for sure. You want to get those feedbacks up and running on your site first.
Right. And I think too, sometimes people have unrealistic expectations. I've done a lot of consumer research, and 80% of the U.S. adult internet population has never left a review and has no intention of leaving a review, right? And you're not going to change that behavior. You're dealing with the 20% of the people or the 25% of the people that are willing to leave a review. And so knowing that 75 to 80% of the people aren't going to leave a review, and knowing that occasionally you make a mistake and you don't have a happy customer, the odds are that even in the best flow, the review rate is going to be slow. To me, the trick is being sure that you know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, fixing the things you're doing wrong, so that next time you ask, you've earned the review, and they're so joyously happy that they have no qualms about leaving it. So some of that is setting expectations too.
Absolutely. And the fact that you're even asking, because that's what I said in the beginning of the call, is that most people aren't even asking. They know they should be doing it, but they forget about it. They don't really have a systemized way of doing it on a consistent basis. So.
And then tracking it, right? If you can't change what you don't measure, right? And so I just think it's incredibly valuable to know where you're making mistakes. You can fix it then. If you don't ask, you can't fix it. So I just think that's a huge piece of this as well.
So we had one person ask, what do you recommend to have this site review system for brand new startup companies? At what point do you think it's good to do this? I mean, because if you just
Right.
have a handful of clients,
Right. Yes. You're absolutely right. If you only have a handful of clients, you should be doing this with some manual system with an
mhm,
eye towards automating it, but you still should be doing it, right? You still should be asking people
right,
whether you did a good job, and you still should be following up with them. Now, you can do this manually. If it's one or two people a week, so do it. Just build it in, and when it gets too time consuming that it's not worth $27 a month, whatever Gene's charging, then switch over, right? I mean, what's $27? How many customers would you have to do this with? If you agree that you have to do this, right, which I think any small business that isn't doing it, needs to examine themselves. But so you agree you have to do it. What is $27 worth to you? I mean, doing it 5 customers, 10 customers, there's some value of your time, and so you have to assess that. I would guess it's somewhere in the area of about 15 customers a month is where the switch point would come,
okay,
right? Where you'd be further ahead automating it. That's assuming you're doing it manually. If you're not doing it manually, then the switch point comes lower because even if it's costing you $27 a month, at least you're doing it, right?
right,
That's the critical
exactly.
issue,
Yep.
right?
And
Somebody once asked me, I once asked a biker whether I should get this bike or that bike. He said, the important thing about a bike, it doesn't matter which one you get as long as you ride it,
yeah,
right? And the same
exactly.
applies here. You can't improve your business unless you're doing this process.
So one person asked, how do we ask client to leave a review when they are over the phone only? So because a lot of them, what if you don't have their email?
Right. Well, in that situation, they're over the phone, but you're going to make a delivery to them of your service, right? You're going there and you are providing the service on site, I presume. Is that not correct?
Yeah, no,
That's
so
correct.
then you've got the situation where, like for a residential, some clients are home and some aren't. Some are working during the day and
Right.
they leave access. So obviously we
Yeah.
can't do it in person
So,
there.
right. So the kiosk is, I think, the one way to do it. We are moving towards a you'll notice here that we are now asking, this is a new feature that we didn't have maybe, I don't know, 8 weeks ago, was phone number. And we will be implementing, I don't know if it's sometime this year, I don't want to make too many promises, a feature that you can do this via text. So if you can get their cell number,
Oh,
that
cool.
gives you one more way to do it. So we're aware that there are some situations where you can't get the information. But I think, email address one of the things about running a business is you can't always rely on new customers, right? Working with your existing customers is the most profitable thing to do. And the easiest way to communicate with them, specials and spring specials and whatever, is by email.
And
And
that's,
so
yeah.
I recognize that you don't always get the email, but you should always try to get the email,
hmm
right?
Yeah, and that's
And if
exactly what I
especially
was
if you're
going to
starting a new
say.
business.
Yeah, when you're onboarding a new client, just ask them. I mean, you can get that from the first time you talk to them on the phone and ask questions. Say, let me get your email so I can send you a coupon for, a free oven cleaning or something like that. But, always
Exactly.
make it about, requesting it so that you can send them discounts on upcoming specials that you're having. That works really well for residential. For businesses, it's for commercial clients, they're pretty used to giving their email address when it comes to proposal time because a lot of them want to communicate through email rather than always through the phone. And then another way that you can do that is you have a link that is in your system that you can send them to a web page. So you can, I think Mike mentioned it before, you can actually put on your business card, or if you have a leave behind for your clients, for the residential people, what you could put it either, leave you the business card with the link, or maybe even make up a postcard that, some kind of a postcard that has that link asking for the feedback. So you can be creative and to get that feedback.
Right. Yeah, good point about incenting. It's totally legal to incent somebody to give you their email address. It's not legal to incent them to give you a review, right? So I think that incenting them to give you an email address is a great way to start the process because there's this sort of mutual obligation at that point that I think is valuable.
Yep. All right. So that was the last of the questions. So, Mike, if you could just go back to marketing systems. So, if you're interested in the service, like I said, you can just type in the URL morereviewsnow.com and that'll redirect you to this. So, and here's a little video that you can watch. Or you just go to Marketing Systems by Design, go up to the Marketing Systems where it's orange there, and there is a drop down that says More Reviews Now. And just read through that. There is a sign up form at the bottom of the page. If you have any more questions, go ahead and contact me. There is a contact up at the top there as well, and then I will answer your questions. And after you do make the payment, like I said, there's a form to fill out. I need some information from you so I can get it all set up, and I'd be happy to help you out with it. So thank you so much, Mike.
I wanted to thank Dawn and yourself for having me, and Dawn for speaking up and telling us how she made out with it.
Yes, thank you, Dawn. I do appreciate it. So let us know if you have questions, and thanks everyone for joining us today.